What's going on, everyone? Welcome inside Bonfire Sports and back for another season here on the channel. My name is Darrin Bauming. Chris Walby will be joining us in a matter of hours tomorrow here on the channel. But who's this? It's our new friend here on Bonfire Sports. Welcome, Zach Schnitzer, or for those who follow you on Twitter, Bomber Podcast.
At Bomber Podcast, buddy. I couldn't be happier to be here. Thank you for pronouncing my name correctly. It's not always easy. I as you can imagine, with a name like Schnitzer,
Yeah.
I've been called many different things. Probably the least hurtful one is schnitzel. I can take that. Like a breaded veal isn't so bad. It's actually quite delicious. But yes, I'm here, buddy. I'm so pumped to be talking to you about Bombers. I know there's CBA stuff going on, but I almost want to be an ostrich and just bury my head in the sand because I don't want to think about it.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's been reaching out and they want to know what's going on the field during training camp and rookie camp and the game on Friday and what we're going to see.
Yeah.
But it's all kind of floating in the air, floating in limbo, right? Because we don't know what's happening with this collective bargaining agreement. We had a strike. There was, anxiety and uneasiness and weird feelings and nervousness for 4 days when they were on strike. Then there was a memorandum of understanding and things were going to get figured out. Then suddenly a third of the CFL players didn't vote. 35% reported by a handful of people. Adam Bighill was asked that at practice yesterday, Zach. And, he said, yeah, right around there. Like, that's unbelievable. Were those Americans? Were those Canadians? It sounds like a lot of those Americans just did not vote. Because it seems to be some of those ratio things getting caught.
Well, I saw on Twitter, for anyone who's wondering why it's really not going down or why this controversy is going down, it's not money. It wasn't that ratification bonus. It's the ratio. And I think it brings up, like, there's a part of me, Darrin, that's like super pissed off. I know lots of fans are too, and rightfully so. You put your blood, sweat, and tears into your job. You get hard-earned money. A lot of people travel. A lot of rural fans, like I think of my buddy Jeff Ritchie from Thunder Bay. I hope he's watching. 8-hour drive each way. That's gas money. That's like half a paycheck. And so you've been waiting. You've been waiting to see that banner go down. You've been waiting to see, who's going to make the team from training camp. And you're sitting on your hands. You just recovered from this COVID thing. Everybody's mental health is kind of in limbo anyway from COVID. We have all this crap going on in the world. This is my, this mirror thing just screws me up. My Ukraine shirt project, my buddy Alex Saradnitsky, $20. I'll give a link on Twitter. It's a great cause. You get a nice shirt. It makes me look jacked, which I'm not. So I don't know if it has some kind of superstructure in it, but there's a lot going on. And like, I think just people don't have the appetite for any more BS. They want their football. I'm going to go on a soapbox here. They want their football, right? They want it to be the one place where they get to be happy, have a Haze Bomb juicy pale ale from Brazen Hall, maybe a brazen butter burger, maybe, a shawarma con, be in the sun, enjoy a summer night, which we've been dying for in Winnipeg. We've had the worst weather. Our new videographer, Josh Burton, moved here from Toronto. The guy is dying. He's like, I knew the weather was bad, but this is like, I hope he doesn't get up and leave because he's a good guy. But listen, people just want to watch their football, Darrin, and they don't want to hear about this crap. But then the last thing I'll say is, like, owners are people too. They have money, but owners aren't like, they're not Gandhi. They're not altruistic people. Some of them are great. Like Amar Doman seems like a great guy, but they need to make money.
Mm-hmm. And we have to remember too that, a handful of teams in the CFL are community owned, including here in Winnipeg. So, it comes down to a board of directors, a business. Love that. We got Pumper in the chat. Kevin Pumper in the chat as well. So hit up the live chat. We're going to get you involved throughout the show. That's awesome. As you can see there too, you got the hotline, Bonfire Sports hotline, 816-TIPS. That's 816-8477. Text, call, leave a voicemail. We'll get you on the air, in future shows. Call and leave a voicemail during the game. I'll get you on the post game. Zach, you're going to be joining me for some post game here on Game Day Winnipeg and Bonfire Sports.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about the CBA, Zach, is
Yeah.
When it comes to the owners in the league, like Randy Ambrosie is an employee of those 9 teams.
Yeah.
Right? He doesn't do what he wants. He does exactly what those owners and the board of governors tell him to do.
Exactly.
And when it comes to the ratio, you've got a league that's about 50-50, maybe a little bit more American players, but a lot of those guys are rookies and not able to vote because they're first year in the league. GMs, head coaches, maybe not here in Winnipeg, but a lot of GMs and a lot of coaches are American, and they want more roster flexibility, meaning if a Canadian gets hurt, maybe they don't have to replace him with a Canadian for the rest of the game or for the rest of the season. I think that's where that 49% number came in. I don't want to get caught in the weeds in all of this. None of those ratio rules were going to go into effect until 2023. It wasn't even going to be this season. So let's just keep our fingers crossed that a CBA will get ratified and signed, that we got games on Friday night, including here in Winnipeg. Elks Bombers kickoff at 7:30, pregame here on Bonfire Sports with Chris Walby. You're going to join me for the postgame here as well. We're doing everything live on Bonfire Sports in 2022, which is so much fun. Like, you're still going to be able to check out the podcast and have the content that way. I'm still going to do my best to post some, interviews and things from practice and things from postgame on YouTube as well. But Bonfire midweek, pregame, postgame, and everything else we can do. I'd like to do some live chats during practice from the IGF press box, from the Bob Irving Media Center during
Darrin,
practice.
You're just dropping a bomb on me. Pardon the pun with the BAUM, but you knew I was
dropping a Schnitz bomb.
Schnitz bomb. We were going to call this the Schnitz bomb show, but maybe next year.
No, maybe our after dark show or something like that. But game day after dark, that'll be our post game. And like, do some live chat. So hit the hotline, text 816-TIPS. 204-816-8477. You can find it all on bonfiresports.ca, on Zach's Twitter at Bomber Podcast, and my Twitter, on Bonfire Sports TV, Twitter, Instagram, all that. We're going to stream it to Facebook as well. You go to facebook.com/Bonfire Sports TV. You can watch it there as well. I'm probably forgetting a whole bunch of stuff, but
it's streaming to my Facebook as well.
Awesome.
I think it's under Daniel Zachary. I don't know. I honestly stopped using Facebook like 3 years ago, but now I'm back into it because of Bomber stuff. So I just want to say I'm seeing Kevin Sproul here on the chat, and he's saying, it upsets me. Sports escape and stressful life, and it's just like that's exactly what people want in football, right? Like, it's he pulls it up. Look at this. Like, I appreciate that because that's what it is, and so people have no appetite for this crap anymore. The other thing I wanted to say though is the owners want to make money. And the players, like, I interviewed Nick Taylor for my podcast, Let's Go Bombers. And what struck me about Nick is he's like a lot of Americans who come up here. They've never been to Canada. He said on the show, he was in Regina in training camp, and it was snowing in May. And he was like, and Chris Jones was playing around with the guys. Like, nobody knew who was going to be on the team, where am I playing, whatever. Nick probably thought he might be playing quarterback, knowing Chris Jones, right? And he's sitting there. He's from the South, and he's like, what am I doing here? The only reason he came to the CFL, he's going to make the Vikings, and he blew me out. I mean, these guys are unlucky. They're excellent athletes. They sacrifice a lot to come up here, and I know we're Canadian, and that's where our heart is, Darrin. But if you're American, like, we know the amount of Americans that become Bombers for life and Winnipeggers for life. Right? You think about the guys that have relocated to Winnipeg. You think about the Big Hills, and my heart goes out to them too. Yeah. The Jeffersons. Brandon Alexander spent all winter here. That says something for a Florida boy to stay up here and rehab from his offseason knee injury, knee surgery injury suffered during the Grey Cup. We're going to get into all the position battles and groups and that sort of stuff as the show goes on here. The premiere edition, the debut of Bonfire Midweek. Thanks again for everybody for joining us. Hit up the live chat. Shout out Blue Bomber Brandon, Pumper, Kevin. They're in there as well. I got some texts I'm going to get to on the Bonfire hotline.
Yeah, like the CBA, like you and I could literally fill an hour talking
We
about this.
could.
I've had so many conversations with Americans about, like what it takes for them to come up here. Like
Yeah.
they're not like us
No.
in the sense that they're not educated as children in school about the rest of the world. Like
Yeah.
I've had family educated primary school, junior high years in middle America, and they don't learn anything about Europe or South America or Canada, nothing. It's capital cities, Constitution, Pledge of Allegiance. Like it's just America. That's it. So for these guys to come up here, it's one of a few reasons. It's like passion to play football. They want
Yeah.
to keep playing. It's, I think I can get back to the NFL and
Yeah.
play in the league. Like the guys call it the league. It's a
Right.
reality.
Well,
It's
isn't
the
that,
NFL. No,
yeah.
nothing is like the NFL's better than the CFL or the CFI. Like it doesn't matter. The
No.
reality is it's a multi-billion-dollar league, and players who grow up in the United States and around the world want to play in the NFL. If it
Yeah.
doesn't work out for them, you play in Canada, you can make a great living, make a new home, be like Kenny Plain, right? Like legend. He has
Legend.
24 grandchildren. They're all Winnipeggers. Like truly putting down roots, with his 5 Grey Cup rings. Anyway, Zach, let's get into the football because I think that's mostly why people have come here
Oh,
today.
come on. Don't they want to know my life story?
Yeah, I would like to learn a little bit about your life story. I was just going to say,
Okay.
if you want more CBA information, Jeff Hamilton has a great piece in the Free Press. I know there's a paywall there, but you can, just pay to play as well and read his piece. Dave Naylor and Farhan Lalji, lots of work on TSN and TSN.ca. John Hodge, Justin Dunk, those guys are doing good work as well. My friends at Canadian Press, Dan Ralph and Dan Barnes, lots of people putting out good content, so be sure to check them out. And Hustler, on our good friend Hustler and Remo and Winnipeg Sports Talk, they've had great guests on all week as well. Be sure to check out their YouTube channel. But yeah, I think people want to know a little bit more about this guy next to me.
Yeah.
Across town. Zach, who are you and
Who am I? Well,
what got you here today? What got you on Bonfire Sports?
Well, I'll keep
You're
this
looking for
short.
Chris
Just like
Wallaby.
my stature. Just like my stature, Darrin. I'm 5'6" and 3/4 with shoes. My mom said I'd be 5'10", but she was just trying to placate me and it did, it backfired because I hit my terminal point and I was still shorter than my dad and brother. And my dad was an all-star athlete. He wouldn't let me play football because he broke his nose 5 times. But just I'll tell you a quick story. Just Bombers. I started rolling with our original Blue Crew, which was my dad, his friend Fred Penner, the Fred Penner. I'm name dropping here, and
Wow.
and his son Damian Penner is still one of my best buddies, and our friend our neighbor Henry Bassoon, and we would go to the game since 1996. I have my 25-year season ticket holder certificate. I've got my name on the brick. And that's how we started. We'd go to games 3 hours early, not to tailgate, but because my dad was so cheap that he wanted to park in the Canadian Tire lot right behind Canadians. So that was the thing, So it's all for the love of my dad, Darrin. He passed in 2017. I'm not going to get into a sob story. He had a chronic illness, but he just, I'm vibing with what Kevin said here. My dad had a chronic illness, and the Bombers was the place where we could just let loose. We could forget about it. He could be optimistic. More often than not, he was pessimistic because you think about the Reinbold years, you think about Jim Daly, you think about all of those terrible Bomber teams and the heartbreak. 2001, 2007, 2011, that Swaggerville team that backed its way into first place and just got pummeled. And then you had the 3-15 2013 season. You had Tim Burke, you had Joe Mack, and so but it was safe. It was fun to just like take all the crap in our life and just take it out on the Bombers in a fun way. And so I think for a lot of fans who I've connected with a podcast, they became fans because of a family member. And the Bombers are a family, and I'll talk about this another time because we want to get to football. But that's my story. I started the podcast because I was a little bit inebriated, and I hit the record button on Podbean, and my mom said it was amazing, and my friends My buddy Sean McCarthy said you said the word legendary 16 times in the show. I said, you said 32 times, right? And I was like, shut up, Sean, you're bald. So what do you have to say? But
I've
anyway.
been there. I've been there.
Anyway, I stuck with it, Darrin, and I got to tell you, I've met awesome people, and people like Milt Stiegelhead, Tate Hustler, yourself, and John Hodge. They'll talk to a Joe Schmo like me just because they're nice, and I think more importantly, and I'll stop with this thing is I've met amazing super fans who I now call, thanks to Hustler, the Bonfire Fireside Blue Crew. We can call them the fire starters. They're going to stoke the bonfire. They're going to chop it
Nice.
up, if you will. I've been working on my metaphors. And these people, we have amazing fans. We have Reaper, of course. We've got
Yep.
Vixen. Of course, Reaper, he is the ambassador to Section 141, him and his wife, Vixen, who are just wonderful, beautiful people. They are Winnipeg. I know they live outside of Winnipeg, but they embody Winnipeg, right? And he is going to be doing a reveal, hopefully on this show. Reaper, the man with the golden skull mask, is
Something
changing
new.
his alter ego, and that's big news.
Something new.
Big news. And I also want to give a shout out to Donnie C from Winkler, aka Sign Guy. You know him. He's the guy with the TSN signs and the fedora and the blue face. You know, and here's where the CBA thing. This guy is selling a couple season tickets because it's so expensive to get the games. But he's coming. And he has single-handedly won us games because he heckles the crap out of the other team. So it's just it's been fun. I live, eat, and breathe football when I'm not being a parent or a husband. My wife is 10 times smarter than me and just an amazing person. And she's the reason I can do this because she's upstairs with the kids. So that's me, Darrin, and I just love football. So here I am.
Well, you know why your wife is 10 times smarter than you? It's because she's the daughter of a big Blue Bombers fan, somebody you could still go to games with. And everyone would say right now, be like, oh, her dad is a big bomb. Who do you go to games with, Zach?
Oh, I run with my entourage. And we park in the handicap spot. Not to game anybody. Like my mother-in-law's partner, he has some knee issues. So we roll into the white parking lot right next to the field. They never leave early enough. I'm dying to tailgate, but what am I going to say? So my mother-in-law is a massive fan. She grew up in Regina.
Amazing.
Hi, Sarah, if you're listening. Her dad was the team doctor, and she was a, dyed-in-the-wool green and white fan. And she moved to Winnipeg, and she slowly became a Bomber fan, and it's my meal ticket. She gives me a ride, and my wife can't say anything because I'm like, I'm hanging out with your mother.
Yeah.
We've gone to
man,
Grey Cups together.
There's your perfect. Well, maybe not like a hall pass. That's got other innuendos to it, but you're kind of like your get out of jail free card. Like I'm with your mom. How can you be mad at me for staying out late watching the Bombers?
Exactly. So Sarah, David, and me, and then I have two. My dad passed, but I kept the seat because I like to bring people to games to manipulate them into being fans, and I got to tell you, it works. So nice. I buy them a T-shirt, they buy me a couple beers, and we're good to go. It's my happy place, Darrin, and I'm just thrilled to be here talking with you, man. I live, eat, breathe, whatever else, football. It's in my blood. I am that guy that when a friend or acquaintance is talking about the Bombers, they're like, "Oh, you should meet my friend Zach. He's insane." I've calmed down because I've had to in the last few years because it's like my family doesn't want to deal with me being like a depressed, angry mess if they lose, which is regrettably. I've thrown controllers. I've thrown TV controllers. If you remember, this is the last thing I'll say. And am I allowed to say this is the last thing I'll say like 15 times? I don't know.
If you mean it.
I mean it. 2016, we were 7-0. Do you remember that? Mike O'Shea's job was on the line. We got Travis Bond. Matt Nichols came in. We won that game in Edmonton. That turned around this, I would say, a fancy word, triumvirate, which is Wade Miller, Kyle Walters, and Mike O'Shea. They were 1-4 with Drew Willie limping along. We won that game, and we go 7-0. Or I think we rattled off 7 in a row. We go into Calgary. They were beating us 28-0. We take the lead with 30 seconds left. Matt Nichols hits Julian Fioli-Gadino. And I'm thinking, I believe it was 34-33. And I'm thinking, this game is over. And sure enough, Bo Levi Mitchell, who I know he's an all-star, all the best, but you can't be a Bomber fan and like Bo Levi Mitchell. Although Bomber woman Tina met him at the CFL Awards and said he was a gentleman, but
Oh yeah,
whatever.
he's
I'm
cool.
sure he's
He's
a
a cool
nice
guy.
guy. But he threw 2 passes. I don't know what the secondary was doing. They were playing prevent defense. That's when we all hated Richie Hall, by the way, that prevent defense. And Rennie Paredes hits a 52-yard field goal. Game ends. We lose 36-34. I whipped my daughter. My 1-year-old daughter was in the room, and I whipped that controller at the wall.
Oh man, you scared her? You must have scared her.
I don't remember. I probably did, and I probably got screamed at by my dad and wife. But that's old. That's not Zach anymore. I've grown up. So there you have it. That was the last thing.
Welcome, Zach, and really glad to have you on. For those out there, last thing, and I mean it. Zach reached out to me and was like, like let's do something. Let's put something together. What are you interested? Like, you cold called me. I loved it. I was impressed with you, just as a person, football aside. So looking forward to this, Zach, and having you on Bonfire lots this year, and really everybody out there. Like everyone in the live chat, Jim. I see your comment there. Appreciate you, man. I don't know if I'm going to put that one up. Pumper, Gregory. Like, Gregory has this question. He says they're playing Friday night. Now, that's
Gregory.
what Wade Miller put out a statement. He said, we're confident we will play Friday. We don't know for sure. We do know this. The game before the Bombers game, the Argos canceled their flight. No word from Edmonton yet if they've canceled their flight to Winnipeg, but Toronto was going to Ottawa for their first preseason game to get the season, the preseason going. So we'll see. Fingers crossed. But lots to get to on the show. Should mention, we're already 22 minutes in here. We got a giveaway. Our good friends at Scotswood Links, like, they're awesome. I love those guys. I want to make sure I got it up here correct. So you can go to Scotswood Links, and like, that's a shot of their beautiful room, their banquet room. My buddy Justin and Steph got married out there. But like, look at that brand new clubhouse. If you've never been to Scotswood Links, it's just 25 minutes west of Winnipeg on Highway 2. I've got 4 green fees with carts to give away today. Best comment in the chat or best comment on text on the hotline. You can see it above there. 816-TIPS, 816-8477. Standard messaging rates apply. And that's the same as, I put it this way. Just like when you text your mama, it's the same deal. You got to say standard message rates apply. But the people at Scotswood are awesome. The course is dry. The greens are in good shape. They're ready to go. So give them a call. Check them out, scotswoodlinks.com. My favorite course in rural Manitoba, hands down. Great people, beautiful clubhouse. As I said, cold drinks. They got you covered top to bottom. Really good people as well. So shout out to Scotswood, and hit up those comments, hit the hotline, your best hot take, your best question. Not only will we talk about it on the show, but you could win yourself 4 green fees. If you want, you can do a pair and then take the other 2. You can go 2 rounds of golf with a buddy or a partner or whoever you want at Scotswood Links, and real close to the city as well, just 25 minutes down Highway 2.
Sorry, Darrin. My buddy Kevin just texted me, don't pretend you're wearing pants.
I'm wearing sweatpants. I don't have a problem telling people that.
They're a nice pair of maroon pajamas that my wife gave me. So
that's nice.
Someone's saying your beard keeps getting sexier and sexier here. Corey Weir. I like this guy. You have a good beard.
Corey.
Like, I can't grow my beard like yours.
Okay, we'll throw up Corey's comment here. I got to get to the chat. Yeah, I mean, I'm throwing up Corey's comment for one reason. It's because I used to work with Corey a little bit, covering the Bombers and the CFL. Good dude. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us in the chat. here's Aaron Myers. Oops,
Oh, hey, Aaron.
LOL, and I'm not sure exactly what her whoops.
She was saying something earlier. $5 beer pre-touchdown is still on, and then she's like, "Oh, that's the because that's their pregame deal. The $3
Oh,
hot
there
dogs
you
and the
go. Here it
$5
is.
beers." Hey, Aaron! Shout out to you, Aaron. Nice to see you.
Yeah,
I
shout out
missed
to
you at
everybody.
training camp, but
Yeah,
nice to see you.
Jeffrey, Kevin, everybody. So let's get into it, Zach. We got
Okay.
a whole bunch of stuff to get to. Through the depth chart, we'll talk about kicker, defensive back, the Mercy Maston injury, the Jalen Saunders release from the team today that took everybody by surprise. We'll talk about some of those receiver battles and the new guys that are probably making it an easier decision to cut a Jalen Saunders. There was a scrap in training camp. We got a preseason game, and we'll keep you covered top to bottom. So where do you want to start, Zach?
Kicker, buddy. I want to talk Ali Mortada.
You do, huh?
He is close to my heart. I like Ali Mortada. It's not just this emotional connection. He's got an interesting backstory from Sierra Leone. But look, you said it yourself on our podcast together. You said kicker is mental. Not like Chris Walby, who says kickers are mental. Kicking is mental. You're on an island.
Mental.
Like you look quarterback, right? Mike O'Shea says they're responsible for winning. But if Zach Collaros throws a pick, there's so many variables. There's the pre-snap read, there's the scheme, there's the execution of 11 other guys. You're the kicker?
Yep.
A tip, right? You're the kicker. You walk out there with 30,000 screaming Winnipeg fans and you don't hit it, and it's a makeable field goal within, anywhere from 10 to 45 yards. You don't make it? Guess whose fault that is? It's Ali Mortada, and he got booed. And this guy got his job taken away by Sergio Castillo, who was the Grey Cup MVP, and I will go toe-to-toe with anybody who fights me on that. That's my hot take. He was the Grey Cup MVP. Everybody agrees with that. But listen, this guy has stuck with it. Mike O'Shea likes his process. Now, Mike O'Shea says good things about everybody because he never says a bad thing. Like if I was on Mike O'Shea's team and I ran a 40-yard dash in 50 seconds and you were in the scrum and said, hey, what do you think of this Zach Schnitzer kid? He'd say, oh, Zach loves football. He loves football. He loves his teammates. He works hard.
Hard worker.
But Mike O'Shea, in his interview, he seemed genuine. You were there probably. He likes Mortada. He likes his process. The guy's got character. He was humiliated last year. He comes back in. He worked his tail off all season. I see Blue Bomber Brandon saying he's never going to miss with these new hash marks. Blue Bomber Brandon, guess what hash marks he was practicing on all off season? The old ones. He was practicing with the wider hash marks. He comes in, and now they're skinnier, right? So he's not going to have those angles to deal with. He's got a leg. We know he can kick it straight. Derek Taylor said the distance on his kickoffs is above average. And so I think the work ethic, he does have talent, the character, and if Mike O'Shea vouches for him, I really, really, really want him to succeed. And I hope he does. I'm fascinated to see what Ali Mortada does. But then in the background, you've got a guy named Mark Leggio, who, by the way, is jacked, which I love in a punter. If he can take down a returner, right? You want to see that.
Right.
The guy's Canadian. He holds the record for accuracy in U Sports, 92%. But he's young. You walk into a pro field. You walk into a passionate fan base, a rat's nest like IG Field. That's got to get to your head, man.
But and you make a couple misses and suddenly everyone's booing you. 25,000, 30,000 are booing you. That gets into your kitchen a little bit, right?
Yes.
You got to remember last season, the Bombers traded for Sergio Castillo from the BC Lions late in the year. And what happened? He was arguably the most important player in the Grey Cup and throughout the playoffs. And a big reason why the Bombers have a second ring coming to those beat up fists, in the coming weeks. It'll be interesting to watch Ali Mortada. I don't always believe with, how do I put this? I don't always believe wholeheartedly, like on the surface, what the team will say about a player. Sometimes they are protecting the player. Sometimes they are protecting themselves,
Yeah.
competitive advantage, all of those things. And it makes total sense. That's what they should be doing. But when it comes to how Mike O'Shea has talked about Ali Murtada and the confidence he has, and Kyle Walters has said the same thing, I believe them. I really, really do. You want to talk about the closer hash marks, being something that'll help Ali Murtada? Absolutely. Is the football different in Canada than the US? Not much. It's a fallacy that our balls are bigger. It's the exact same football. The laces are different, the striping is different, and the leather is different, but the dimensions are like within a quarter of an inch on like the long diameter. So is it a huge thing for a kicker, the ball? No. But Ali Murtada took 5 Canadian footballs back to, I think, Arizona this winter and worked with them. And now he's back and he looks pretty good. You do have Mark Leggio there as a contingency plan. You don't got to go to like, Darvin Adams or Adam Big Hill or, it was.
I'll
Darvin
throw a name at you, buddy, because
right?
I'll throw a name at you. Ryan Langford. Does anyone remember Ryan Langford kicking?
Kickoffs.
The last game of the 2018 season, he was the kicker. I don't remember why, what happened to Medlock, but Langford, bless his heart, there was a guy who had made a few plays, but just didn't stick around. Anyway, I digress.
Well, it's something to keep an eye on, but I'll be honest with you. I don't see it as the biggest concern.
No.
Like grain of salt when you talk about concern with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, like they're deep, they're stacked, they're the same as last year, like contingency or consistency from last season to this season, momentum, stability, all of it, they have it. So I don't see a lot of weaknesses in this Blue Bombers team, but I don't think kicker should be one people are too nervous about. You can head over to bonfiresports.ca and get your depth chart. I update it pretty much every day with what I see in practice and things moving around. Zach, let's get into defensive back, because when Mercy Maston went down to injury, I'll maybe preface by saying this. Mike O'Shea said he wasn't ready to provide an update on Mercy Maston, and then he said on the coach's show with DT yesterday that he's not, or sorry, I think it was actually today in his press conference. I had a doctor's appointment. I had to run out, but he did tell the assembled media in Winnipeg today that he will not be giving an update on Mercy Maston for a while. I think that's out of respect. I don't have any inside knowledge on this. I do not know, but you read the tea leaves and you kind of try to decipher between the lines, and based on how he was carted off the field and tearing his Achilles 1 year ago, or, less than a year ago, actually, it was with a late training camp in 2021. You have to wonder if this is a season-ending injury for Mercy Maston. It's also important to know this isn't just some dude. Mercy Maston, I was told by a CFL GM after his injury last year, said Mercy Maston could have been the most important player on that Blue Bombers defense that figured it out on that run to the Grey Cup, in the end of the regular season and through the playoffs. And he was the most important player, not Biggie, not Willie Jefferson, not Brandon Alexander, not Winston Rose in 2019, not Mike Jones, who was all over the field in the Grey Cup in 2019.
Yeah, I remember
it was
that.
Mercy Maston. Why did Bo Levi Mitchell have such a bad game in the West Final? Well, his check down wasn't there because Mercy Maston was smothering. Why were they throwing at Mike Jones over and over and over again in the Grey Cup? Well, they couldn't find anything across the middle or out of the backfield because of Mercy Maston. It's a huge hit to the Blue Bombers that they lost him in 2021. They got Alden Darby. He was an all-star, so, good for them in that sense. Darby leaves in free agency. He's a Hamilton Tiger Cat. Now what do? It's looking like Donald Rutledge Jr., an American rookie who has never played in the CFL before. It's looking like it's his job right now, and that's a daunting task, for a young player to play a spot that's effectively brand new for an American.
Well, we were talking the other day, that Sam linebacker, the dime, is very unique. You have to cover as a DB and you have to play the box, and it asks a lot. And if you're an American who's never played in the CFL, I'm worried about that. I'll be honest with you, because last year we had Maston go down and Eldon Darby came in, and that's a veteran. And he killed it. Like, he was good. And actually, quite frankly, he might have been an MVP in the Grey Cup. He had that interception. He was all around the
Yep.
quarterback. He was hitting guys. He was making tackles. He leaves. And damn it, he was going to be on my podcast, Darrin, and then he left. Poor Ottawa. He went to Ottawa, and then he's like, actually, no. I'm not sure what
Yeah.
happened there. But
Yeah.
I have it on good authority that Alden Darby would have signed here if he had been given an offer. And so, like you said, frankly, I was
paying Mercy.
surprised.
They're paying
They
Mercy.
like Mercy.
Yep.
I'm buying what you're selling, but to be honest, I was kind of shocked they let Darby go. I hadn't thought about Masson as that impactful. I do remember the picks in the 2019 West semifinal, but I thought Darby was a stud, and now in hindsight, of course, it doesn't look good. But look, this is a brass that found DeAndre Alford, who's now with the Atlanta Falcons, who's probably going to start. The guy was an absolute all-star, and they found Dietrich Nichols, right?
They pulled Winston Rose, respectfully. Like, I'm a huge fan of Winston Rose. I like him as a person as well. They pulled him off the scrap heap in BC. Like, cut by Ottawa, not re-signed by BC despite leading the CFL with 5 interceptions that year.
That's right.
That's why I call it scrap heap, because they're like, we don't, we don't really value this guy because he leads the league and we don't want to keep him. Winnipeg says, I like him. Let's sign him. Well, then he had an NFL opportunity. Brandon Alexander was a walk-on in college. We're going to talk about another walk-on in college when we get to the receivers too, Zach, but that's making an impact. But they can find talent. They can find guys. So when they cut a Jalen Saunders, everyone's like, what? He's an all-star. He's a name I know. He's a 1,000-yard guy. It's football. A forever truth is change will always happen. It's inevitable. And, I teased this on Twitter the other day, Zach, and sorry to go on, but as you shift from DB to receiver, Darvin Adams leaves in free agency. He's going to be wearing number 1 with the Ottawa Redblacks this season. Obviously, Kenny Lawler signs the big ticket, 0 guaranteed, but
Darrin, then he threw some shade on Winnipeg.
Oh, he did?
He did. It was a 3 Down Nation article, and he said Edmonton is more scenic than Winnipeg. Up until that point, I was okay with Lawler leaving for $300,000 because I thought, how could you not?
What does that mean? More scenic,
right?
Is he talking about the
My
mountains?
blood started boiling because us Winnipeggers are proud, and we have.
Have you been to Edmonton outside of their hockey rink? Like I got a lot of friends in Edmonton. Like, no joke. Like, the TSN 1260 crew and everybody I know there, like, that cover the Elks, awesome people. Like, love them. But have you been to Edmonton? It's like,
I've been there once. White Avenue, nice parks.
It's like flat water Winnipeg. It's like tepid water Winnipeg. It's so similar, but like everything's just a little bit less there. Okay, they're close to the mountains and you got all of that. That's great. Yeah. We got Lakeland here in southern Manitoba, but like it's just missing a little bit of shine. It's missing a little bit of heart. Like with the forts and St. Boniface and Assiniboine Park, the largest urban park in Canada.
Good plug.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big park guy. I love hanging out at the park. Our zoo, all that. Edmonton to me is not a big draw away just because it's in Alberta or close to Calgary or close to the mountains. Anyway, that's a bit on that.
I understood Lawler was leaving. He went for the money, and honestly, the way he was talking, I figured he was going to come back anyway. He's got 2 rings. Like, whatever. He's a young guy. He, you need to make the money. You never know if you're going to get injured, right? Yep. But then to throw shade on the Winnipeg Zoo, I believe it was something about zoos it raised the ire of one Zach Schnitzer, and that's the first and last time I'm going to refer to myself in the third person, because if my wife ever heard that, it would be like she would. Well, she couldn't divorce me because I drive and I pick up the kids from school and make lunches. But my God, I'd be sleeping in this man cave of mine in the basement. But receiver, Darrin, talk about Dalton Schoen, because you were talking about him on Twitter. Everybody lost their minds about Saunders getting cut. We don't know the whole story. I speculate he just didn't have it anymore. But Dalton Schoen, you think he's shown something? Pardon me.
He has shown something. Well done.
Yeah.
So he's another guy who's a walk-on, similar to Brandon Alexander in Florida. Dalton Schoen was a walk-on at K-State, Kansas State University, and turned it into, some productive years in his junior and senior seasons. He looks very well-rounded. And when you start getting the tap to step in with the first team offense, it says a lot, 4, 5, 6 days into camp. So I think they like Dalton Schoen. I tweeted this the other day, Zach. The Bombers' talent at receiver is deeper than meets the eye on paper. You lose Kenny Lawler, leads the CFL last season in receiving. That hurts. You lose Darvin Adams, big play guy, plays slot, plays wide, leader, veteran. That hurts too. But they're going to be okay. Like, I expect Nick Dembski.
I'm sorry. Are you laughing at this Corey Weir character? We got to get him off the chat. This guy is making me.
Won't put numbers up. Oh yeah, I left that up
laughing. He's don't ever touch our zoo, Lawler. How dare you think of the polar bears, Lawler?
Oh,
think of the polar bear. Sorry, I got to stop looking at this chat because this guy.
The chat is fun though, but hit up the chat whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, and hit the hotline. Where is it? Up there. 816-TIPS, 816-8477. Call, leave a voicemail. We'll get you on the future show. Call during the game. Call before the game. We'll address it in the post game. Send a text. Be sure to put your name, though. I got a bunch of texts I'm going to get to later. But the name isn't there, so I'm not going to give out your phone number without your name. Well, I wouldn't give out your phone number either way, but
I don't know, Darrin.
Rasheed Bailey is only going to get better. He's gotten better every season, Zach. Greg Ellingson. I had one media person tell me this week, like, Greg Ellingson had a down year and he's in his mid-30s. And he had 672 yards, if I'm not mistaken, in 10 games in Edmonton. Who is his quarterback?
Wait for it. The guy who Glenn Suter likes to say throws a heavy ball. How many times did Glenn Suter say that Taylor Cornelius threw a heavy ball? I swear to God, if he says that this year again, I'm shutting off the TV. Who was throwing to him? Taylor Cornelius, a broken Trevor Harris. Nick Arbuckle comes in. He didn't even see the field. Did Prukop throw to it was like Milt Stegall in his prime with TJ
and 670
Garza.
Sorry to interrupt.
We interrupt each other. This is a norm that we're setting here, Darrin.
It's our first show. We're going to figure it out.
I'm going to keep interrupting you. Sorry. Anyway,
that's okay. I'll keep interrupting you. We'll have fun with it. No, I kid. 607, like Greg Ellingson's numbers last year, based on a full season, is well over 1,000 yards. Yeah. I see no reason why him joining a dynamic offense like Winnipeg, great O-line, strong run game, the best quarterback in the CFL, hands down, reigning MOP, Zach Collaros. Like, how does Greg Ellingson not continue what he has done? Mike O'Shea mentioned today after practice, Ellingson's missed the last 4 days, but he called it more preventative than anything, expects him back soon. Rasheed is going to continue to get better. Nick Dembski looks bigger this year. And he knows he's the guy now. He's the Oak Park grad. He's the Winnipeg native. He's Mr. Canada in Winnipeg now. He's going to continue to get better. You got Drew Wolotarski, who was awesome in the Grey Cup, was always reliable always reliable. Yeah. And then you got a young guy like a Canadian and Brendan O'Leary Orange pushing him, big body, got some skills out of the University of Nevada, played in the NCAA. Carlton Agodosi has been nicked up. If you remember him, he's the 6'8" monster out there wearing number 86. He's been banged up, but he's somebody that Winnipeg really likes, kept him on the practice roster all last year. Blake Jackson injured in training camp last year. He's back. The team loves him. He was a big Paul LaPolice guy, and now stayed in Winnipeg and came back for this season. He is likely to step in to a bigger role. Janarian Grant, it took him a while to sign in free agency, right?
Yeah.
But Zach, he's a burner. If you get him on a go route with, some things happening underneath and they forget about him or draw too much attention to him and forget about Nick Dembski, he is somebody that's going to be able to contribute in the receiving core. Then you add young guys like BJ McElveen, remember that name, and Dalton
He made
Schoen.
a good play, right? He made a good play in training camp.
These are guys they like. This team is deeper than what meets the eye on paper when it comes to receiver. That O-line, Zach Collaros, strong run game. These receivers are going to have time and space and opportunity to operate.
And John Hodge said it a while back when Ellingson signed and Lawler left that he predicted that Ellingson would have a bigger year than Lawler. And the way Chris Jones plays with quarterbacks, I don't see that being a stretch. I saw him in training camp on Saturday. The guy was wide open. He has that chemistry with Collaros from 2014 in Hamilton, and he's consistent. And when you're talking about the CFL, you can have guys that you can have your Troy Kopps that have a monster game, your Joey Elliott that can throw for 406 yards in 2012, which nobody did till throw 400 yards till when last year was Zach Collaros, 417, right? Did Joey Elliott do anything? It's the guys that can do it every year, and that's great. 5 years in a row, 1,000 yards.
Right.
He's in shape. He takes the most pass interference penalties in the CFL. Thank you, Derek Taylor, for that. Right? So he's going to be an absolute stud. I am so excited to see Ellingson. I'm quite frankly, Darrin, I'm sick of him burning us. I want to see him in blue and gold. I think he's going to be number 2. And I want to see him burn other teams. But let's talk about Brendan O'Leary Orange. We had Blue Bomber Brandon ask about him. I liked Brendan O'Leary Orange last year in camp. He's a big body. He's Canadian. I don't see him challenging Wolodarski at this point, but can Wolodarski take him under his wing? What, you think he's going to challenge Drew?
Yeah.
Really?
I think he has the talent to win that job. And no knock on Drew Wolodarski. None. But Brendan O'Leary Orange can be that good. Will he be? Well, he's got to get healthy. He's been watching from the sidelines for the last number of days in camp.
Yeah.
Get into a preseason game. Show what you can do when it's not Zach Collaros at quarterback. You know, whether it's Dakota Prukup, who, as an aside, Zach, the guy can run. Holy cow, he can move.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. Unbelievable. And a 5-year veteran quarterback with a good arm.
Good.
So, if you can make it happen with him in the preseason or with Drew Brown at quarterback in the preseason, I give Brendan O'Leary Orange, I won't say an inside track, but he's got a leg up on winning a job. I definitely see him making the team. No question in my mind about that.
Really?
He's big and he's talented. And we got to remember his dad played in the CFL for the Toronto Argonauts. So dig that up on Wikipedia or wherever you go.
Now that's what I call chopping it up and stoking the fire, Darrin. Who was his dad? Who was his dad?
Oh, I can't remember
something
now.
It's O'Leary or something orange.
Yeah, I think it was orange. Anyway, look it up, check it out, and you'll see. He's got some good bloodlines. Brendan O'Leary Orange.
Does he play teams though, Darrin? Does he play special teams?
I haven't seen him do too much special teams, but again, he's been banged up a lot. Right. But he started making plays in practice last season. I noticed him. He made one catch that kind of had the field kind of go he can play. I'm really curious to see Brendan O'Leary Orange, the new number 84 for the Blue Bombers in the preseason.
Let's do one more if we can.
Sure.
And then I have to do one thing that I think is funny. Kelvin McKnight. That was the highlight for me on Saturday. It was a beautiful day. I took my daughter. We got the pancake breakfast, blah, 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 blah. I met Sandy. I met Tamara. By the way, Sandy has a sweet collection of CFL cards, this lady, but uh it was Zach on a scramble to his right, which he always does, right? He scrambles to his right. He kind of threw a duck. It wasn't a duck, but it was a wobbler, but it must have been 60 yards. And who comes up with it in traffic? A guy was draped all over him. Was Kelvin McKnight. Because Kelvin McKnight last year was kind of like Nelson. It was like, okay, he makes the odd catch. It's like a 3-yard screen pass. Great. I don't see him going anywhere. But Kelvin McKnight is back. And it was a hell of a play. And, I want to see it more often with Kelvin McKnight. But to what extent does he have an inside track of making this team?
I think he'll make the team. No question. I think he's maybe one of the first guys they'll call off the practice roster. He might even win a job, like win a starting job. He's essentially up against Janarian Grant, right? Like Calvin McKnight, Janarian Grant, very interchangeable, very similar body type. Like they're going to have some hard decisions to make, and it may come down to health. It may come down to these guys' ability to play in the preseason. That determines who Kyle Walters wants, who Mike O'Shea wants, who OC Buck Pierce wants, maybe even who Zach Collaros wants.
Right, of
when
course.
it comes to the final roster.
Okay, let me give you a quick rundown. This is a Zach Schnitzer squirrel moment, but I was thinking about the last few years, how Winnipeg has kind of been a graveyard of veteran receivers, and you know what I'm talking about, Bomber fans. Okay. 2014, Nick Moore. Doesn't do much. 2017, or actually it was 2016, Kenny Stafford. 2017, Kenny Stafford gets cut in training camp. Big name receiver.
Yeah.
Adarius Bowman, big name receiver. We were all excited. The return of Adarius Bowman. He got his eye surgery. Now he can catch. Does nothing. Who comes next? Chris Matthews, 2019. Like Chris Matthews was talking about, I want my name on the wall of honor beside Milt Stegall, blah, blah, Terrence Edwards. The guy did nothing. Cam Meredith, 2021, veteran of the Bears. I had a buddy, I'm going to name Sean McCarthy again, my buddy. He's a huge Bears fan. He said Cam Meredith is a stud. And he had his first couple days in training camp, I remember reports. This guy was a smooth runner. Nothing. And now you have Jalen Saunders. And here's the other reason I want Greg Ellingson to succeed is you got to break that curse. There's too many big name receivers that have come here and done nothing and have just, sputtered out. And let's go, Greg Ellingson. He's one of the most exciting guys this year for me, Darrin. I just cannot wait to see him get a 50-yard pass interference call, and the people around me be like, "Oh, okay, pass interference." And as Derek Taylor said, a 50-yard pass interference call is just as good as a 50-yard catch, especially if you're in the fourth quarter, you're behind and you're marching. You're not going to take a 50-yard pass interference call against Greg Ellingson? Hello.
Yep.
So that's my thing. I'm done with receiver. I don't know if we're done with
Shout out to Gregory in the chat. If you were following along there on the screen, he pretty much gave us the entire Wikipedia page for Doyle Orange, Brendan O'Leary Orange's dad, in his 4 stellar seasons with the Toronto Argonauts in the CFL. But it's going to be a fun season. I sure hope they play a game on Friday night. Dan Barnes of the Canadian Press, excellent reporter, better guy, tweeted just moments ago, Zach, or I should say, oh, wow, it was actually a while ago now. But he says, hearing the CFL and the Players Association have engaged in collective bargaining talks off and on all day, but the Players Association leadership not yet prepared to take the current deal to membership for a vote. Talks will continue in hopes of getting to that point by the CFL imposed deadline of midnight Eastern time Thursday. So it's going to be an interesting 24, 30 hours here in Canada with bated breath, and hoping we have some games to watch and enjoy on Friday. But you can follow him, Sports Dan Barnes, on Twitter. He's a great guy and a great follow as well on the national level. I'm going to pull up some texts, Zach, on the Bonfire Sports hotline. You can see it right there, right right there. Well, there, here, you point up. No, 204-816-TIPS, 816-8477. Leave your name and your question. You can text it or call, and maybe we can get to it on a future show. So big shout out to my friend Don, first person to text the Bonfire Sports Hotline. Love you, Don. You and Brian are two of my faves. One texter says, it seems like Winnipeg is set on Brady Oliveira at RB1, the starting running back. But if you were calling the shots, how would you allocate the running back workload? You take that one first.
I am someone who looks at Brady Oliveira, and I see a little bit of an Andrew Harris clone. I see a guy who has a low pad level, runs between tackles. He can catch out of the backfield. I see him that way. But for whatever reason, Darrin, there's just something about Augustine that lights the fire, to use another bonfire analogy. This guy has a 7.2 yard average per carry. That is absolutely insane. When Andrew Harris went out because of the drug scandal, Johnny Augustine played in Labor Day. Unfortunately, they lost that game. And then he played in the Banjo Bowl. He torched the Riders.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was like they hadn't missed a beat. And this guy has speed to burn. So for me, and then you saw him in that meaningless Calgary game last year at the end of the season, where unfortunately our record-breaking defense, fourth quarter defense, that record was broken.
Right.
Mike O'Shea took the sword for that one. He said, I shouldn't have sent a full-out blitz. I should have listened to Richie Hall.
Was it the 6 combined points in fourth quarters all year?
Exactly, man.
Yeah.
But Johnny Augustine, what did he have? 100 yards in the first quarter or first half, had 148 yards. For me personally, I think Johnny Augustine is a next star Canadian running back in this league. But as Greg just said, love me some Greg Liverpool. Maybe you'll see a running back by committee. But here's the thing. Buck Pierce is looking at his playbook. He's got a little bit of a thunder and lightning thing going on, which we haven't seen since you know who and you know who,
Mm-hmm.
and Blaine Consellers. And he's probably going like this, saying, I am going to have some serious fun. And then you throw the two quarterbacks in, and I want to mention that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be this like nerdy fanboy Bomber guy who's like, ooh, two quarterbacks set, and they're going to light the league on fire. They're going to break every record and go 18-0. Like, we know that's not going to happen, but you're right. Prukop can motor. He had that 40-something yard run on us last year when he was with Edmonton.
Yeah,
he also, by the way,
play of the year. It was the Elks
Edmonton's play of the year. By the
Yeah.
way, there was a video on Twitter where Prukop threw the football. This was a video by the Bombers. He throws the football, and the caption is "beautiful throw." I'm like, okay, he's throwing the football, big deal. It goes into a garbage can like 60 yards away. So, hey, that impresses me. But, you have Prukop in there who can run, right? And you have Augustine and Oliveira. So to answer your question, me personally, because of that average, because of that speed, and he can catch the ball out of the backfield as well, Johnny Augustine is a guy that I think is one of the reasons they let Andrew Harris go, because they did not want to countenance losing a guy like that.
Yep.
He had, I bet you I have no evidence, but I bet you teams were just dying for some Johnny Augustine. And no knock to Brady Oliveira. I think he's a good player, and he's had some big games. But Johnny Augustine to me is a game breaker.
I completely agree with you that Johnny Augustine was a critical signing following the departure of Andrew Harris. I think the Blue Bombers knew they weren't going to re-sign Andrew Harris. I think that was their intention.
Yeah.
There's a lot of he said, she said, he said, they said, reported on that whole Andrew Harris signing in Toronto thing and not getting a call from Winnipeg and the rest of it. But I will disagree with you on the yards per carry average. It's
right.
The go-to stat fans talk about when talking about Johnny Augustine. I will first say Johnny Augustine may be the most difficult ball carrier to tackle since Andrew Harris. Like, he is so tough, hard-nosed, determined, and strong. I'm told the guy eats like a rabbit, like
Oh
the
yeah,
cleanest
yeah,
diet you could imagine. You see his body, like his physical
yeah,
makeup, he's like carved out of marble. Okay. And
yeah,
that's just a football reporter talking. Like he
yeah,
looks different than the rest of the guys around.
yeah,
Um, and he has a heart. The biggest muscle in him, all of it is probably his heart inside him. The guy is a tireless worker,
yeah.
has his head on straight, big character, big heart, great teammate, I'm told as well. And I do believe he is going to be a star player in this league. But here's the reality. When you lose Andrew Harris, you don't just say, okay, Brady's our guy. Okay, Johnny's our guy. No. Andrew Harris is beyond. He is, he
Yes.
is like, not a lot of guys are made like Andrew Harris.
No.
Like, not many at all. If you don't have 33 who can kind of just, play, you better have good contingency plans. And I think the Bombers did the smart thing. You move on from a $180,000 contract for Andrew Harris. That's about what he made the last number of years here in Winnipeg. It's what I understand he made in Toronto. Now you got money to pay two good young running backs. Do I think it's going to be a backfield by committee? Absolutely. And it should be. They're both good. They're both young. They're both dynamic. They're both good blockers. They're good in the pass game. Brady Oliveira thinks he needs to be better in the pass game. So what is he doing? I only know that because of what he's doing. He's after practice catching 100 balls out of the jugs machine. That's the like spinning machine.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
football. They use it for punts and for the receivers to catch and that sort of thing. Willie Jefferson feeds the football into Brady. Boom, boom, boom. Like not like throw speed, faster than throw speed. So he's really working on his hands and working on ball security. The Bombers' running game is going to be what it always was, led by the big boys up front. We haven't
Yeah.
talked about the line, but we
Yeah,
will.
let's go.
And it's Johnny Augustine and Brady Oliveira. Pick your poison. A1, A2, Thunder and Lightning. I think it's going to be fun. What's your
Let me
line?
sorry, Darrin, let me ask you
Go
one
ahead.
though. You said the yards per carry average is
Yes, right.
so
He had
so
like,
fill that out for me.
well, it's an average. Okay.
Yeah.
If you took his median run, it's a lot lower than that because it was offset by some really, really big runs because he
Yeah.
would get to the outside. Like I remember one specifically at IG Field last year. I can't place the game, but he just pushed guys off of him and kept going to the sideline, push guys
Yeah.
off of him.
Yeah.
Like he won't go down. He will
Yeah.
never trot out of bounds like Eric Dickerson, like who was famous for it, right? Hall of Fame running back, but would always take the easy way out. Johnny Augustine ain't taking the easy way out. He is hard-nosed, like I said. But I think the yards per carry average, as somebody who is like stepping in for Andrew or stepping in for Brady, maybe defenses weren't exactly expecting him and he ripped off some really big runs. I think
Fair.
that just skewed his yards per carry average, but we'll see.
We'll
Fans
see.
are going to tell me I'm wrong. That's fine. We'll see once, once they're under the lights this year.
So let's hit O-line. Like there was I read Ed Tate's piece, love me some Ed Tate. By the way, I do want to give a shout out to Derek Taylor. Guy came on my podcast, never met him. He's settling in. He came back from a big trip, trying to find a house with his wife Fiona. Came on the pod, real big gentleman, great guy. And listen, he did his first coaches show under some adversity. There was some tech issues, and he just took it like a pro. We all know Mike O'Shea is not the most media friendly guy in the world, and I thought he pulled it off beautifully. So big shout out to DT. I love DT being the new Bob Irving. I think he has some great energy. I think.
Well, I'll stop you there. He's not the new
Okay.
Bob Irving.
No, he's
He
not.
is
Okay, you're
Derek
right.
Taylor.
My bad.
Yeah,
He's the
and you know
Derek
what? That's how Derek would want it, and that's how I think it should be. I love Derek. Like Derek was somebody who took me under his wing years and years ago when he got hired by TSN. I can't even remember what year it was, 2014, something like that. I happened to be in Toronto. He was there. I was going to take over Derek's former gig calling the University of Manitoba Bison's football games.
Oh yeah.
It's like, come on, meet me at this place. I'll buy you lunch. I picked his brain. He gave me tons of great advice.
Yeah.
I've considered him and still consider him such a great friend and mentor and somebody I look up to. There's few that have passion and affinity for Canadian football like Derek. He has, He puts his own slant on it, loves the numbers and the stats, the details, all of that. Wishing him nothing but the best. It is a huge pair of shoes to fill. And a lot has been said about this in a variety of different media formats, Zach. But I want to wish my best to Zach, well, you're Zach. I want to wish my best to Derek. He's going to do an amazing job. Fans are going to love hearing him call the games. And of course, all the best to Bob Irving. I wished him my best earlier when he announced his retirement. But man, like what a legend. We're going to miss him. But Derek's going to do a great job.
Well, and Bob, what heartened me was Bob Irving tweeted the other day. I think it was in training camp. Instead of being there like he is every year and kind of losing his summers, he had binge watched Ozark, and I thought,
like 1 in the morning, he's tweeting about Ozark.
Oh yeah, it's like
no, it was 1 in the afternoon.
Yeah, it was like, good for you, Bob. Like you deserve to not only ride off into the sunset, but watch as much Netflix as you want, right? Anyway, so we were talking O-line. I don't know how I got into DT, but there was a piece today by Ed Tate. Love me some Ed Tate. That's how we got to DT. And he talked about Jeff Gray and that he expects him to step right in. I like Jeff Gray. He's saying he goes down the field just like Hardrick. He's kind of nasty, and he has a knack for getting under other teams' skin, which I really appreciate. So what do you see in O-line? Do you see him filling the Desjardins sort of hole that was left? Where are we going on O-line?
I think Jeff Gray is a very different player than Drew Desjardins, but he doesn't need to be Drew Desjardins. He doesn't need to be Pat Neufeld. He needs to be Jeff Gray. Jeff Gray, if you've read about him, University of Manitoba Bison, and time in the NFL, first round pick of the Bombers. He was a weightlifter growing up. Like, it served him well. The guy is strong as an ox, and he is incredibly smart. When his football days are over, he is going to do fantastic things as an engineer. I've been told he's a genius. Like, he'll scoff at that.
Right.
Jeff will scoff at that. But he's very talented in engineering and incredibly smart in that. But he's playing football and he's strong. And, I think if the opportunity's there for him, he can take it, but they're not going to give him the job. Like Liam Dobson signing the Bombers' first round pick from 2021. USFL didn't work out. It was visa issues. It's, border rules or whatever it is, the IRS, Canada, whatever it was. His contract got nullified. He wasn't able to play in the USFL. And that was a 2-year deal. Like, it would have been locked in. Well, now he comes to the CFL and signs with the Blue Bombers, and he's been getting a lot of work with the first team offense. Him and Gray have been kind of switching between the two guard spots. Michael Couture has missed some time, so Chris Kolinkowski, another younger Canadian, has stepped in. Neufeld has missed a little bit of time, so they've rotated some Americans in there as well. Ben Kazwara, another Canadian who's been getting work at center and at guard. Kolinkowski, Kazwara, Dobson, Gray, those are all guys that are going to push for those Canadian, or that one open Canadian spot. I give Jeff Gray the inside track, but they're definitely not going to anoint him the next Drew Desjardins. Neufeld, Hardrick, Stanley Bryant, rock solid vets that when healthy are good to go. But I'm curious to see a lot of these young offensive linemen in the preseason. That's going to be trial by fire and their opportunity to maybe help as an individual stand out from the rest of the pack.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're so solid on offensive line, and everybody knows that trope, right? Like, if you want to be successful in the Canadian Football League, you need those interior Canadian linemen, your hogs, and I think we're good there. I personally thought the Liam Dobson signing was absolutely massive for us.
Yeah.
So,
no question.
And Derek Taylor will say, your running back doesn't matter that much in the CFL, and he has stats to back it up. But I think if you've got that O-line, you can throw Zach Schnitzer back there, and he's going to get a few yards for you. He's going to be carted off the field after the first play, but he's going to get you a couple of yards. I was an all-star on the recess field, buddy. Like, I could juke people, but
3 yards in a cloud of dust. Yeah, I mean, it's hard for Blue Bombers fans to hear that, replacement level running back is just as good as most starters in the league when we've seen what Andrew Harris has done here.
Yeah.
2019 Grey Cup, you can't tell me any other running back could have done what he did. He had a chip on his shoulder. He had a point to prove. He had a real fire in his belly. And, he brought a Grey Cup to his hometown, a very long awaited Grey Cup here to Winnipeg. But, that offensive line, Buck Pierce, a committee running back group, Kyle Borsa, a Canadian out of the University of Regina, somebody we should mention as well. Very Johnny Augustine-like. Very, very similar body stature and can run. I covered a game or two of his for Canada West TV when he was at the University of Regina. He's a good player.
Okay.
I think he's somebody that is going to continue to bolster and push that Canadian running back group that Winnipeg has. Good things are happening with Buck Pierce's offense here because
let me ask you this.
You can do a lot of different things.
Collaros is unbelievable. That guy's release. Like, I don't know a lot about Corey Weir. I've got a Schnitzer could be serving up schnitzel behind that O-line. Love it. Love it, Corey Weir. We got to meet in person. Here's a question for Bomber fans and for you, Darrin. Is this team, Maston aside, because I suspect that's a bad one. Is this team, particularly, look, we've talked a lot about offense, but let's talk about that dark side historic defense from last year, right? You lose Steven Richardson, and poor guy, like, he goes down. I don't want to see that. I mean, the guy was an absolute monster for us. I loved Steven Richardson. And, but look, is our roster comparable to last year's roster? Does it stack up?
Yes, absolutely it does. Absolutely it does. Steven Richardson's a loss, but, Casey Sales, Ricky Walker, they're both coming back. Casey Sales made some things happen. He's looked good in 2 leagues now. He looked good in the XFL. He's looked good in the Canadian Football League. That's second year in the CFL after coming from American football, especially for guys that play on the line of scrimmage, like moving a yard off, changing their timing, changing their technique. All of that has to make a big adjustment with that yard off the ball here in Canada. Casey Sales could continue to grow into a really impactful player on the inside. Jake Thomas, like watching him in practice, in training camp, like his motor is turning, man. Like Jake Thomas looks as good as ever. You add in Cam Lawson, another Canadian defensive tackle with a little bit of experience. Cole Adamson, a Winnipegger and Manitoba Bison, mid-round draft pick of the Blue Bombers this year. Absolute mountain of a man, big and strong and learning the game. I think he's going to go back to school. But in the pipeline, learning under Jake Thomas in training camp this year. And then these guys on the edge are all world in Willie Jefferson and Jackson Jeffcoat. Cedric Wilcots was cut in training camp by the Blue Bombers last season. He's back. He's looked really good in training camp. I think he's on the inside track to be that guy, be that extra defensive end. Everyone talks about Steven Richardson, Zach.
Yeah.
Jonathan Kongbo and Teodric Hansen, both departing the Blue Bombers for different
big losses. Those scare me. I'll be honest with you.
Those are big losses. Big losses.
Especially when, like, and I saw when we had that 34 set in the beginning of the season because Kyrie Wilson was out and Steven Richardson was out. That's why Toronto beat us, because they ran the ball down our throat. No knock on Briggs and Gauthier. Love those guys. They are talented. We all know that Shane Gauthier saved the 2019 West Final. He caught a guy, Nick Marshall, who was faster than him objectively, and caught him and took him down. Okay, there's no knock on those guys, but I believe the stats were quite clear that when Kyrie Wilson, who's underrated, he's a phenomenal player at will linebacker, and Steven Richardson came back, Darrin, our run defense was back on par. Before that, it was middling. And that made us vulnerable.
Chime in one little thing I heard.
Chime in all the time, man.
Out of that game in Toronto that the Blue Bombers lost last season, it stands out on the schedule, right? Like they lost that game handily. I
Yeah.
was led to believe that the Bombers just kind of got pushed around in that game.
Is
Toronto
that right?
played tougher. Toronto played harder. And maybe Winnipeg was expecting, things to just go a certain way.
Oh yeah. Of
I can't speak much more than that, but they got beat in that game. Teams lose games. Teams get beat. It was
course.
maybe served Winnipeg well because, they went on to a heck of a season and pretty much outside of the Grey Cup game itself, a runaway through the year to the Grey Cup. But it, sometimes those games early in a year, like in the first third of the year, can be a reminder that you got to work. You got to put it in every single week. You got to show up on game day and you got to treat every opponent like they're going to beat you, because if you don't, they will beat you.
It is true. It sharpens you, right? And if you look back at 2019, not to stick on 2019 too much, but we all remember those horrible losses by 1 point each, respectively, to Toronto and Montreal. Games I will never ever forget. Games where I was tempted to throw that
Because you have a dent
controller.
beside your TV on your living room wall.
Right? And I can't even fix that because I am not a handyman by any chance. But listen, those games, I think those games really sharpened the Bombers in 2019. And I think that it gave them a suit of armor, and they said they were embarrassed. And they said that's not going to happen again. And I'd rather a team lose in July than October, just what CJ Didac is saying. So as much as you hate it as a fan when they lose, you have to have that perspective that it's an 18-game season. And sorry, Ryan Ballantyne, Mr. Four Horsemen podcast or extraordinaire in Calgary. Teams don't go 18-0 in the CFL. I love this guy. He's great. I'm just joshing with him, but
no, Ryan's a good dude. Really good.
He's a good dude. The other day he was on with Joe Pritchard on no, it wasn't Joe Pritchard. Was it Joe Pritchard?
Oh.
I don't know who he was on with someone, and he was saying they're not going to go 18-0. They're going to go 18-0, and that gave me a good guffaw. But listen,
he
they
loves
are
his
going to lose some games.
Ryan. He loves his steps.
I'm hopefully going to that game. My brother-in-law is getting married July 31st in Calgary. What does a good Bomber fan do? You look at the away schedule, and I'm like, oh my God. The Bombers are playing the night before.
A little extra time with family, relax,
Yeah, okay.
Bring the kids, introduce them to the extended family, a couple provinces. Oh, no, you're looking at Ticketmaster.
Oh, my wife and I are already battling on that. So we'll stay tuned. Stay tuned. I saw my cousin Jeff from Chicago's on. Maybe I can bring you down to look after the kids with my wife. But you haven't quite convinced me. I'm afraid for our run defense. I was afraid when we lost Drake Nevis, but then we got Richardson. We've lost Richardson. Is this Lawson guy going to step up? Is Sales going to step up? Is Ricky Walker going to step up? Cedric Wilcox, we'll see. But as long as
this is what I know about the Blue Bombers defense. It's very intricate and confusing to opposing offenses. Like you talked about, 3-4 sets and 4-3 sets.
Yeah.
They ran like a 2-5 last year. They'll bring in Briggs and Gauthier and
did you say 2-5?
Yeah.
What in God's name is a 2-5 set?
Adam Bigle's at the line of scrimmage. Then he's dropping to deep safety.
Buddy.
They'll swap the dime in the weak side on run plays. They do all of these weird, confusing things to watch from like the press box or on TV when it's a wide enough shot. It's fun to watch away from. I got a book behind me. It's called "Take Your Eye Off the Ball." Everybody watches the quarterback drop back and throw the ball. Drop back. Watch the defense. Watch the line of scrimmage.
Right.
That's where the fun stuff is happening. But like Adam Bighill, Kyrie Wilson, those other guys I mentioned, losing Mercy Maston's going to hurt the run defense. No question in my mind. Brandon Alexander, presumably not ready to play for the first chunk of the regular season. That's going to hurt the run defense. But the fact that Winston Rose is back and you got someone like Taekwon Glass, who has CFL experience, Nick Taylor, Dietrich Nichols, Winston Rose, all those guys, to have guys that continue to work together. Nobody talks about DBs when it comes to run defense, but they're a big part of it as well in run support. So I think they're going to be okay, but of course you never know until the lights come on and they're back at it. CJ's asking time frame for Brandon Alexander to be back. Unfortunately not. I do know this. Exactly a month ago was the Blue Bombers' new jersey release.
Yes, right.
Brandon Alexander was one of the models. He was limping a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know how close he is.
Yeah.
I don't know. Mike O'Shea won't say. Nobody would say. But I don't think people should hold their breath. You know, let a month,
I think it's
go by. We'll see.
I think you're looking at Labor Day or Banjo Bowl for him. That's what I had. That's what I had heard.
But you talk about a free agent or trade deadline ad off your own roster, like a Brandon Alexander.
Well, it's a funny way to look at it, right? It is a free agent ad. Like the guy's an absolute stud. He dropped some good tracks too. I've been trying to get him to send us one for the show. We'll see.
Yeah, I'd be down with
that. I want to see some two-sided. Look, I want to ask you about Tyrell Ford.
Okay.
Because this is a Canadian who could potentially play corner. I do not know the last time a Canadian defensive back played corner. We see them at safety. We had the Hallett brothers. We had Jeff Hecht play there. We saw Derek Jones play there. It's pretty common. It's maybe a safer spot to put a Canadian, if I may, not to offend, but to have an athletic freak like Tyrell Ford, who was frankly bored in Waterloo, the film showed, I believe. Like they were just like, he's so good that he's bored. Of course, Matt Buckner. Yes. I don't know. Did he play corner? I don't remember.
No, there was Buckner Brandon. And there was Alexander. There was a Canadian Alexander as well. I don't think
Tyrell Ford
corner, or they like stepped in and played corner and it didn't go so well.
Did not.
But you're right, like Davis Sanchez.
Yeah,
I can't name too many Canadian corners.
Because here's the thing: like if you they may have to play an extra DB as Canadian with the defensive line. You lose Kongbo, right? So if Tyrell Ford is even like an above average Canadian DB who can play corner and rotate in at safety, like that is pretty exciting for a Bomber fan, I would say. And I am dying to see what this guy can do. Hopefully we see this game on Friday, but I am dying to see what this guy could do because
I was just looking it up. Arjun Colhoun is another good Canadian cover DB. But it's not just Tyrell Ford, Zach.
Right.
Patrice Rene.
Right.
University of North Carolina, big, long body with cover skills, 6'2", looks like a grown ass man, if I can say that. He's somebody as a CFL rookie and a Canadian from the 2021 draft that could easily step in and be one of those cover spots. So Blue Bomber Brandon asking if Ford's been returning kicks in practice. I haven't seen him, but I haven't been watching that too closely. Grant, Dembski, McKnight, also the running back McCray and Simpson, the two Americans. We'll see how kick returner shakes out. But love everybody in the live chat or texting the hotline here on Bonfire Sports. Awesome. Appreciate the support. Be sure to like the video on YouTube and subscribe. You can ring the bell and then you'll know when Zach and I are live. You'll know when Walby and I are live for Game Day Winnipeg. You'll know when Zach and I are live for the post-game show. Well, there's your bell.
It's from my good buddy Alex Serebnitsky. He always gets me little trinkets. Here's my bell. Ring the bell, folks.
That's awesome. I mean, the Bombers' Canadian talent is really good. It goes beyond some of those new names. I want to mention one, and I know we're tight for time, Zach. We got to let you, as a young family man, get back to your kids.
Oh, right. I have a family. That's the thing. When I get into football, I actually forget everything else. I'll be honest.
That's not true. That is not true. But Tanner Cadwallader. Now his full name is Tanner Gaskill Cadwallader.
Ooh, that's a mouthful.
But they got rid of the one last name and then he just goes with Cadwallader.
Yeah.
on his jersey, because he'd be like, the Detroit Red Wings of the 80s or whatever it was like, from elbow to elbow, the shoulder bar or the
Yeah.
name bar.
Yeah.
Tanner Cadwallader, Canadian linebacker and special teamer. He's been making things happen in training camp. Like, I'm noticing him all the time. He's got sleeve tattoos, number 47, big body, similar to like a Shane Gauthier, can run. As I mentioned, plays specials, but he's been making things happen at linebacker too. Number 47, Cadwallader. Watch him in the preseason. The guy plays with a serious edge to his game. Mike Miller's been a little bit nicked up in training camp, or they're resting him, more preventative than anything. Like, Hall of Famer, the GOAT,
He doesn't
the
need
killer,
reps.
Mike Miller.
Yeah.
I love calling him the killer.
That's a good one. I haven't heard that.
He, if he's not playing in the preseason, you watch 47 on kick cover. He's going to make something happen. He's a real player.
Sorry, Darren, I got a reference on my good buddy Gregory Liverpool. He wants us to talk about the Burger King dude. Do we know what he's talking about?
Oh, the man named after the Burger King Whopper.
Oh, Whop Filer.
Number 71. Yeah, Antonio Nunn made a nice catch in practice the other day.
Yeah.
Dixon, Filer, some of those guys. There's a lot of receivers. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Got Milt, speaking of receivers, says, sorry I had to leave. Did you guys talk about Jalen Saunders? We did. I'll recap it. I don't even know if I mentioned it, but my feeling is the performance was just not there.
Yeah.
Somebody like, oh, he asked for his release or this or that. Mike O'Shea will not speak specifically to it.
No.
Nor would he ever. But my inclination is that he just wasn't there anymore. He hasn't played a full season since 2017.
Yeah.
Played half a season in 2018, bad knee injuries, then a car accident, like serious injuries from, a brush with death. Wishing Jalen Saunders all the best. Had a chance to talk to him in training camp, Zach. Really nice guy. Probably fit in. You know what they put on the Grey Cup ring in Winnipeg? FIFO, fit in or forfeit opportunity. No doubt he fit in, but wishing Jalen Saunders the best. I just think Winnipeg's got a ton of depth and young guys that are probably coming in at a better price point and on that 1+1 rookie contract than a 2-year deal Jalen Saunders got.
Well, and they've got the preseason, right? Hopefully, like they didn't have the preseason last year and they rolled to 11-3. So yeah, I think we're going to be good. The problem is, Darren, you've just whet my appetite, like not just because of this Burger King guy, but you've whet my appetite to see this preseason game. I'm dying to be there.
Yeah.
I'm taking my good buddy Jack from Ireland. He's a rugby guy. He loves watching CFL now. I've turned him and let's go. Like, get the deal done. Now I'm like even more stoked than I have been before to watch these guys. I want to see what's going to happen Friday. I want to see Tyrell Ford versus Trey Ford. I want to see Chris Jones.
Yeah.
I want to see what shirt he's wearing. Is he going to wear a black shirt? He's going to wear a green shirt. He's going to have the shades on. Is Mike O'Shea going to be, sort of
shorts?
I don't know, voodooing him with some. I think Mike O'Shea can't stand Chris Jones, but we can get into that another time. This is just a fan theory, but
we're going to do it all year. We're going to do it all year here on Bonfire
Midweek. This is
Midweek.
just the best.
Yeah, I'm excited, Zach. This was a great show, a great start. So tonight's Wednesday. We're going to do it live next Wednesday, same time, same place here on Bonfire Sports. And then we're going to go Tuesday nights all season long. So Wednesday this week, Wednesday next week. But then when the regular season gets going, Zach, you and I will have Bonfire Midweek every week, all season long on Tuesday nights, 7:30 and live. So get in the live chat. Hey, there it is. Where'd you get that?
I got it from this really nice guy. He also gave me a new bubbly flavor, by the way, folks. Green apple. My goodness, was it good? But the hat was even better that you gave me. You also gave me some stickers, which my 7-year-old daughter says she can't find. I was going to load up those stickers and pepper them.
I got more for
buddy. They're gone.
I got more for you. I got
love
more for
those
you. And if
stickers.
you're at Bombers practice, anybody out there, and you recognize me, come up. I'll get you a Bonfire Sports sticker for your lunchbox. Jeff Hamilton with the hot take. Ottawa doesn't make the playoffs.
Ooh.
How hot is that take? I don't know if it's Bonfire hot, Hammy, but we'll take it. We'll
Ooh.
take it on the first show. Love the live chat. Love everybody engaging. Be sure to like and subscribe. And I'll last mention this, Zach. You're going to be at the game on Friday because there's going to be a game on Friday.
Yeah.
Let's hope there's a game on Friday. But Chris Walby and I are going to go live tomorrow. I don't even know when, but it will be live. So ring the bell on YouTube and you'll be notified when we go live. Chris Walby will join me for Game Day Winnipeg Season 2 with the big man. And he's got thoughts on all of this, the Blue Bombers and more. And then, Zach, when you're done at the game, you're going to race home and you're going to join me on Game Day After Dark here on Bonfire Sports. We'll break it down in the postgame.
It sounds steamy.
You want it to be? We can make it steamy.
I am going to race home.
I'll just have a cup of tea and mind my business. That's what I'll do.
Well, to be honest, I'm a boring old dad now. Like, I'm drinking
Your
tea.
dad jokes.
And my dad jokes. I'm drinking tea. By the way, I did want to drop one dad joke that I prepared because in my car, sometimes I rehearse things that I think are funny that nobody else does. But I will say, Zach Collaros and I are very similar in a couple ways. One of them is we're both MVPs. He's the most valuable player in the Grey Cup. And at times, I am the most valuable parent, as evidenced by this morning when I was given my 19-month-old son at 4:30 in the morning, Darrin, on the biggest day of my podcasting media life. My wife gives him to me at 4:30 and she says, she sees my face and she says, "Oh, are you sure you can take him?" And I put my head in my hands and I'm honestly thinking to myself, I actually don't know if I can take him this morning. And I look up to respond to her, and she is gone. And my son is just standing there looking at me, being like, "Dada Nunu," because that's his name for noodles. And I thought, that's my MVP moment, most valuable parent. It doesn't happen very often. My wife is the 99% most valuable parent, but that's another thing with me and Zach Collaros. So there you go.
Well, and we can talk about the pronunciation. The biggest scandal, controversy in Winnipeg right now is the pronunciation of the MOP quarterback's last name. You can watch him say it at the University of Cincinnati on YouTube. You can listen to all the big voices across the league, people here in Winnipeg. There's like 3 different pronunciations for it. We'll get it straightened out. We'll give the guy his due and say it right. But thanks to everybody for hitting the live chat. Be sure to leave your name if you text the Bonfire hotline, 204-816-TIPS, 816-8477. Call, leave a voicemail. Zach and I will play the good takes and good questions after the game on Bonfire After Dark. We'll try to keep the steam to a minimum. And Chris Walby, of course, joins me for pregame and all that. But man, we had fun. We've gone over 90 minutes here, an hour and a half.
Right?
Stuff. We didn't even waste too much time on the CBA.
Well, that's good. I'm glad. I think we won some people over. They'll come back, Darrin. They'll come back and
I hope so.
they'll watch the show. And I will. I get out of the game quick with my mother-in-law and her partner and whoever we're with, and I'll be home in time. And I'll have some takes for you, man, because that's just who I am. So let's go.
Post game's gonna be fun. So we're gonna go on like after the broadcast and after their post game show and get your voice out there a little bit more involved in the conversation. So hit the hotline, join the live chat. Be sure to join us live. All of that and look at this. I don't know, Hammy. I don't know. Anyway, thanks again, Zach, and thanks to everybody out there. Great first episode of Bonfire Midweek. What do you say we do it again in 7 days?
Let's do it in 7 days. And hey, one more question, Darrin. When do we announce the prize for the golf package?
Okay, so I will reach out to whoever it is, best comment or question in the live chat today. I'll reach out to you, and then I'll announce it on Game Day Winnipeg tomorrow. But that winner is going to win. Got to pull it up here one more time. It's Scotswood Links. You're going to win 4 green fees, and you're going to win 4 carts as well. You can go 2 duos, or you can go 1 all by your, or 4 all together. But awesome place, just 25 minutes west of Winnipeg. Greens are in good shape. Course is dry. All 18 holes in play. You can check them out at scotswoodlinks.com. Thanks again, Zach. Appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
And,
this was great.
We'll see you post game. Okay. Oh, hang on. Oh, I got something fancy to wrap the show here. So thanks everybody for listening and watching.
Let's go.